Hello friends, this is Growl. In this series, I start with a brand new character in World of Warcraft. No previous achievements, no gold, no anything. Fresh at max level with no connections to see how far I can go. The one catch, I recorded every single minute of the journey and I explained my thought process and decision making along the way. Whether you're just looking to improve your skills and pug your way up, or you just want to come along for the ride, I hope you guys enjoy. Back at it. Maybe it's a bit optimistic to think we can 2 chests and 8 for our Sanguine, but this will be our biggest key yet. Here's our damage breakdown. You know, pretty typical. Our healing breakdown as well. I think I mentioned trying to remember showing those and then I never do. I apologize for that. Oh, it's a tank. Oh, it's another tank. This guy's got 991 score. We're definitely taking this guy. To find a tank with 1000 score, it'll make making this group a lot easier. Hopefully he doesn't see our item level and leave. Oh, and we have a 3 stack. Should we take this 3 stack? Yo, let's do it. Let's do it. What's the worst that could happen? Yo, we filled up a group insta. Did we do it? I don't know what they're doing here, but I didn't think it would be that easy. I mean, pushing the key up is the way to get score. We did what we could, honestly. We did what we could trying to get easy gear, but the gear is no longer going to be easy. Maybe we could buy a couple auction house pieces. We can get 220 or 200 pants, 200 chests or something like that. We could do Korthia. We could do Torghast. And, you know, if you're a newer player, if you're less experienced or less confident, nothing wrong with doing that. Get a 10 or an 11 done or something. Also, when we get this piece, this will be a big power spike too. We're praying. There's some really good raid pieces we can get. We got to be as polite as possible before they realize that we're 209 item level. Now, sometimes you learn that when you invite a group of friends, they're more likely to place the blame on you when things go wrong, let's say. So we have to be on the lookout for that, you know. If we invite a 3 stack or a 4 stack and then they decide to gang up on us, you know, that's just the price that we pay. Well, you know, they're never gonna blame each other. They're always, if something goes wrong, chances are they're blaming the healer. So we're kind of already mentally preparing for that, if that makes sense. And it's totally okay if things go wrong and they blame us. Ooh, we got some mage food. Playing hunter kind of sounds fun. Maybe if I do another one of these series and I'd want to play something else, I might play hunter. Having like a big old pet sounds pretty cool. I don't know why. I'm just looking at this guy's pets and I'm just like, this looks pretty cool. All right, we'll give him the ready check. Bam. We'll pass lead to the tank. You can see my standard practice in dungeons. We don't always see everyone else doing this, but that's what I would consider etiquette, is doing a ready check, getting everyone ready, then doing a countdown timer, putting the key in, and then passing lead to the tank. All right, so we've never done an 8 before. This is our highest key yet, and it's inspiring. So again, we're gonna use our ruby here because we remembered. We'll drop our Fey transfusion. These guys are inspired, so our tank won't be able to run very well. So we want to keep them topped as best we can. Oh man, our team's blasting. Look at all that damage. All right, so here's our next affix. So now we're into a +8. This is the first dungeon that's had 2 affixes, or rather 3, I guess, if you count tyrannical. And now we have quaking. So on top of, did we do a 7? No, we've never done a 7. So once you get to level 7, now there's 2 or 3 affixes. So not only do we have to deal with tyrannical and inspiring, but also now we have quaking. And you see this timer here in the top right. This is a weak aura. And a weak aura is like a custom UI modification. I talked about it briefly. And you can see how it's giving me warnings about the quaking. The quaking happens on 20-second intervals. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen, it will be on a 20-second interval. And so it gives you a heads up that that quaking is going to happen. But what does the quaking do? So when the quaking happens, it creates a circle around your character. And if you're casting a spell when that circle ends, it will just interrupt you and lock you out of casting spells. So for a class like Shaman that has to do a lot of casting, it can be pretty challenging. You have to constantly be on the lookout for quaking. You never know. Here, we'll cast the spell right here. Now see how I have that sound that plays? That's part of this weak aura as well. It lets me know, hey, a little clown noise to let me know that I'm a clown and I'm casting during quaking. And this is highly, highly recommended. Now, I don't have too many UI modifications. You've seen my UI be pretty clean up until now, but I do highly recommend a quaking weak aura that not only tells you the timer on it, but also does that notification to let you know. Because sometimes it can be hard to tell, especially if it's like a, you know, a laggy environment or whatever. So unfortunately, that one guy was inspiring, and we weren't able to kick these ticks from engorging. But looks like we're slamming through. Things are going well. Haven't been talking much about my gameplay since we got so much new stuff to talk about. The only guy here we can interrupt is this one tick, so I'm going to put him on my focus and interrupt him since there's nothing else. And now that he's interrupted, now we'll throw down the cap totem and stun everything else. I'm kind of saving up my mana and my cooldowns because I know I have a boss coming. It's a tyrannical level 8 boss. Something I've never healed before, so I'm a little bit intimidated. Our mage is playing fire, our rogue is playing outlaw, and our hunter is playing beast mastery. 3 somewhat not common specs, but we'll pop our bloodlust here. Ready to bust the fire mage. So this boss has a lot of AoE damaging mechanics. The first one is that spell that you have to kick. It'll keep doing damage. This one is a charge that everyone has to soak, and it does split damage to everybody. Now the rogue actually used evasion to immune it, and you can use an evasion to solo it and not have anyone soak. But now comes the most dangerous part, which is the severing smash. So we're going to prepare for this by getting our riptides out, getting a cloudburst down, and having our healing tide, since we know this is going to be dangerous. And each one of these orbs, we have to soak them. They cannot get to the boss. And you can see that was a pretty heavy amount of group damage. It might not have looked super intimidating, but also keep in mind that, you know, we prepared for it as best we could with a lot of different spells. So now the soak is on the hunter, and now we're all getting in line for that. You can see we're starting to fall behind here. Basically all this boss's mechanics are AoE damage, but we have lots more here. We'll use our ruby as well as our Fey transfusion here. Put down another cloudburst. As soon as this goes out, we'll let some of these pop, and then we'll pop our Fey transfusion to do a lot of healing. And our cloudburst goes off too. And there's that. There's the boss. So we had to deal with 2 of them. Again, as you go up higher and higher, you'll have to deal with, you know, 3 or 4 of those waves. It wasn't too scary what we had to deal with, but notice my general thought process for how I dealt with it. Every single time there was group damage coming out, I decided, okay, I'm going to use this. You know, I'm going to use healing tide. I'm going to use Fey transfusion. And I planned out, you don't want to put yourself in the situation where you're not ready for the healing. And our group's DPS is very good. These guys seem to be playing very well, so we'll just keep slamming ahead. We'll back away. This Grand Overseer does these dread bindings that we have to be out of range of. Oh, the last thing I forgot I didn't mention about quaking is also, if you're in range of anybody, it does additional damage to you and that person when the quake goes off. So you'll see when that quake happens, everyone kind of does like a loose spread out. I was gonna walk on top of somebody to demonstrate the damage, but I thought let's not start on the wrong foot with these guys. Sometimes people can be a bit get a bit aggravated, but so far things are going very well. I would say the first boss is one of the most challenging bosses. It may not have seemed like so just because we were so well prepared for it, but the first boss can be really challenging. And if your group handles the first boss that well, then Things are looking good for you in the dungeon. Okay, there you got to saw the quaking damage. Our hunter kind of drove me into a corner. All right, wow, these guys are doing great damage for being, you know, whatever item level and being in a +8. Another thing that's nice to do for quaking is to sort of give your team some more space. So you saw there, even though I wasn't next to anybody, I still kept running away because just in case they need the space, you know, let's say they're all stacked here. Like for example, here I can run all the way out just so that they have all the space if they need to. Again, you don't always need to do that, but now we're on to the mini boss. This guy's mostly a tank buster, but he sends out these tornadoes, so we are just trying to keep people topped in case things go wrong. Again, the tornadoes don't do too much damage. Nothing scary. Get out of the way of that one. Yeah, we're going lightning fast speed. I think the Depths Warden is the only caster here, so we'll put him on focus. We'll use our Fey Transfusion too. You guys should know the gist of the rotation by now, and now we're getting to a part of the series where we don't really need to talk too much about rotational stuff. So here's a big group of mobs, and they're inspired, so there might be some casts going off. I'm just going to throw down a healing tide. Even though we're all full health, I'm just going to put down that healing tide right away just to... just to make sure, you know, again, proactive is what we want to be as healers. And as I was saying though, we're starting to get to the point in the series where we kind of get the idea, you know. If you guys watch this far, you guys know that Riptide's a good spell. You guys know that, okay, we're going to a pack, we should use our Cloud Burst. You know, we'll be DPSing with Flame Shock and Lava Burst in the downtime. Hear that? See, we can get out of the way. Again, our mage is trying to do big damage, and you'll learn from DPS players that they don't want to move. You can see that he's in that swirly, but he's combusting. He doesn't want to move. So, generally speaking, as a healer, I try and move out first because of quaking. I don't necessarily always expect. As a rule of thumb, I try and be the first to move, and I also try and move away from melee to give as much melee space as possible. We're blasting. Moving away from melee. And you can see how this makes our efficiency a little bit harder, you know? When we were doing the +3 theater earlier, there wasn't too much stopping us. There wasn't too much stopping our efficiency, but now we got these swirlies we gotta move from. We got inspiring we gotta worry about. We have this quaking we have to worry about. It becomes a juggle, and that's part of what I like about Mythic Plus, is that there's a lot of stuff to think about. So here we are on the boss, and we don't have Bloodlust, so this one might be a bit challenging too. The first thing I'm going to do is make some distance. I'm going to make some distance from my team so that everyone kind of has some room to spread out. There's not really a big reason to be up super close here. For the first ad spawns, I'm going to use my Fey Transfusion just to have a little bit of healing stored up. We also have our Cloud Burst going too. These ads you gotta focus down fast. I'm gonna run away again. Not gonna use my defensive because I know I have this Fey Transfusion saved up that I can just top myself with, so we'll hold on to our defensive for later in case we're in trouble. Again, we keep backing up because we're running out of space, and I'm gonna keep running back to give my team room. I'm giving my team a lot of room here. And notice I'm not putting down Healing Rain or anything. You can, but because of how much movement we're doing, it's not the best idea. And now this ad spawns and we start to fall behind, so I kind of get in melee range to use Ascendance here. And now once I get everyone topped up, we run back out a little bit. Again, keep backing up, keep giving them space. Evasion does not work against that, I believe, but Cloak does. Now we're on the last ad, so we'll throw down our Healing Tide since we know we have that available. We also got our Ruby too. Guess we could have used that at some point here. Getting Riptide on as many people. Nice, and we did it. No Bloodlust, no problem. Yeah, we're making great time. We're speeding through this. These guys are playing really well. I think we might be a little bit short on enemy forces, but we might have enough too. I'm not sure. I'll trust the tank. No reason to worry about it now. We got plenty of time to figure it out later. Notice how I switched to the higher health mob. It seemed like everyone was hitting that caster, so I kind of switched off of it. We haven't talked too much about priority and target switching, but again, now that we're getting into the more advanced stuff, we're trying to do what we can to speed things up. And so, you know, for instance, if we see everyone focusing this one mob and this mob's coming in late, we can maybe put some of our damage on this mob too and kind of spread it out. Because ideally, we want all the mobs to be alive until they're not. That way, you get the most beneficial cleave damage. Like, let's say you have an ability that's hitting 3 different mobs. You don't necessarily want to focus down one of them because you want that 3 mob hitting ability to be able to do max damage every time. So this is a room where we also want to be spread out. So I'm going to kind of preemptively walk around over here. So for this part, we're going to need to grab these orbs. I'm not going to worry too much. I'm just going to go into Ghost Wolf and run around and grab them. Notice how I take this far one here, just to give my team some more space. This is where it gets scary. We got Quaking while we're trying to heal. I decided to use my Spirit Walkers here just because was going to have to do some dodging, and that Quaking kind of threw a wrench into things. Also, I don't quite have a lot of my cooldowns available. I don't have my Ascendance or my Healing Tide, but what I will do is I will do Fey Transfusion. So I'm going to use a Ruby and Fey Transfusion and have it stored up. Looks like we'll press our Astral Shift since we're only able to get 2 orbs. Then we can pop our Fey Transfusion there. And we're going to do as much healing as we can before we have to move, because eventually we're going to have to move out of these swirlies. So as soon as that AoE damage hits, you can see I was just pumping as much heals as I could. This Iron Spikes does some pretty heavy tank damage, but our tank seems to be handling it pretty well. Again, you can see that Quaking weak aura coming in really big there. I was, you know, worrying about all the other stuff, and I kind of didn't pay attention to Quaking, and then I have it ingrained in my brain that anytime I hear that clown noise, I just immediately cancel my cast before it gets interrupted. Alright, so we won't be able to interrupt these casters, so I can just throw down a Healing Tide. But dang, this stuff is dying quick. These guys are, you know, not super high item level, but much higher than me, I guess. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon that you have with dungeons. I guess it's true in any game, let's be honest, you know. You do early stuff, and the early stuff isn't necessarily hard, but at the same time, no one knows what they're doing. So it seems hard because no one knows what they're doing. And then you start moving up and you start playing against harder stuff and harder opponents, but then also your teammates know what they're doing. So it's hard to say if, you know, lower keys are harder or higher keys are harder or what's going on. I mean, obviously it gets harder and harder as the key level goes on, but having good teammates definitely makes things easy. We'll just put the boss on focus just so we can find it. We'll drop a cap totem down here to stun all these guys as well. There's a lot of mobs, but it looks like my team's doing pretty good AoE damage, so Not worried too much about any of these guys since my AoE damage as a shaman is very, very poor. I'm mostly just built for doing single target damage. Once this Gloom Squall goes out, we gotta get in the shield. We're blasting away. We have some sort of a bleed on us, so we'll pop our Astral Shift. Use our Phase Transfusion as well to help reduce some of this group damage. If that's a juicy heal. Phase Transfusion is a really, really juicy heal. And see how powerful this Covenant ability is getting. And all of them are pretty good too. All the Covenant abilities, not just Fae. We're racing. This might even be a +3. We might end up with an 11. Which would be crazy. We'll get out of the way here. Give our team some space for quaking. Uh-oh. Quaking and the shield. The shield actually reduces the amount of damage that you take by a lot. Not just from the Gloom Squall, but from everything. So if we happen to have that Quaking plus Gloom Squall, it's actually fine to just stand in the shield. Because the Gloom Squall will do very high damage if you walk out of it. Uh-oh, and unfortunately this Quaking is going to mess up our Phase Transfusion. I cancel that. Alright, looks like our tank wants to pull everything out of the room, and again, notice how I'm constantly just giving everyone space. Just trying to keep far back enough that if they need space to spread for quaking or for traps, they can do that. And even sometimes I'm watching the quaking, but I still try and cast anyway because I'm not sure if I can sneak in the cast. Oh, we don't even have Bloodlust available. We're racing through the dungeon. As long as tragedy doesn't strike. Let's see if we can stop this with a reaction. Boom. We can use our soul shape to blink out of that. Dodge these lines. Another thing we can do is other people see how much stuff is going on here. The boss is jumping around. There's the lines. There's the quaking. Might not seem hard at first, but hopefully now you can see how the difficulty of these bosses can stack up. I'm gonna drop down a Spirit Link here just to kind of minimize the group damage, and once I use this Phase Transfusion, it'll heal everybody. So things are getting a little scary, so I'm gonna just press my Astral Shift. I was sort of preemptively thinking that maybe I might get hit by stuff, and if I do, I'll already have my Astral Shift active, so it'll be okay. If you're ever in a situation where you're like, uh-oh, I might get hit by stuff, it's always good to just try and throw your defensive up early. Sometimes it can be a bit of a Hail Mary, if you know you're not going to live anyway, but the shield also removes these bleeds. The bleeds will last a very long time, but you can also use, like, oh boy. You can also use, like, Dwarf Racial or Blessing and Protection or something to remove the bleeds. But every time those shield goes up, they get removed. Alright, we're taking some heavy group damage, so I'm gonna pop Ascendance. Kinda not using our Cloud Burst too. Lots of stuff to juggle. The boss dies at 50, I believe. And we did it. Honestly, that was probably one of the easiest dungeons we've done yet. And I think we did a +3 there. No item, unfortunately. Let's look at what everyone else got. Conduit. Wrists. Nothing good. Let's see. +11 Plaguefall. What's the worst that could happen, right? What's the worst that could happen? Harvek, 226 Mage. Seems a little bit low. His score is 1318 and he's 226. My score is 873 and I'm 209. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, he's a bit low. I think we could do better than that. This is definitely some big score for him though. I don't know what level you're supposed to be for an 11. I don't know, maybe I wouldn't mind a mage, you know. Let's... Oh, I don't have my Raider IO add-on installed. You can use an add-on to look up more stats of a player. Like you can see like what guild he's in and if he's done any raid bosses, if he has any alts, all that thing. So if you're kind of on the fence with somebody... Oh, wow. What do we have here? So we have a tank, another pally, and a mage. Passing up a 229 tank sounds like it might be a mistake, though. Whatever. You know what they say. You only live once. What's the worst that could happen? Yo, let's just send it. Look at this. Here we go. We got our team for the 11. We're ready. So just in our last dungeon, we talked about the new affix quaking. Now, from 7, at level 7, you get that third affix. At level 10, you get a fourth affix. So this is the max number of affixes on a keystone. This one is tyrannical, inspiring, quaking, and tormented. So the very last affix is what they call a seasonal affix, in that it's always the same on every key every week. So the first one, it's either tyrannical or fortified. The other two kind of change from week to week. I think there's a pool of like 14 different affixes. And then the very last one is always the same for each season. And this one, Tormented, is going to put 4 mini bosses throughout the dungeon, and they're added on. Like we gotta go kill those. There are 4 more mini bosses that we have to kill, but each time we kill them, we get a power that we can take, and the power makes our character stronger. And so it'll be fun. It'll be fun. There's one power that gives us some haste that will be very much needed, because our haste is still so low on this guy yet. We could use a nice little haste kick. So we're heading over to Plaguefall. I'm a little scared. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared. The +8 went so well that, hey, you know, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that can happen? Even if we deplete, we'll have a +10. We'll give the tank the lead. Here we go. Our first +11. We skipped 9 and 10. We're going straight to 11. Here we go. We're 209 item level. Pushing up our own key. Okay, let's see what our tank decides to do here. Uh-oh, so this can be a bit scary because this guy is inspiring, so we can't stop this fungal stormer. Also, we're on a collision course for this guy coming up. So I'm already ready to pop my big cooldowns here. I use my Spirit Walkers in case I needed to dodge. And I use my Ascendance right away because I knew we were going to be taking some heavy damage. I'm going to get ready to use Cap Totem here on this Fungi Storm, because my Ascendance is running out and I don't necessarily have the juice to heal through it. Oh my gosh, my team is taking very, very heavy damage. The stuff on the ground is starting to hurt real bad. Oh, also I can purge this Wonder Grow buff. So this mushroom is going to buff all of its allies if this cast goes off. Our friend seems to be standing in this. In a +11, you start to get punished very quickly for standing and stuff. So we got to be quick to move out of that. And okay, not the worst thing that could have happened. At this point, if we can just finish the dungeon in time, I'm going to be happy. It doesn't matter pretty much anything. Oh god. Our tank is pulling all of this. He hasn't used the defensive yet, and all of the mobs are... Oh no, oh no, no, no. This is not good for us. This is not looking good for us. We used our astral shift, and we'll start getting a Fade Transfusion up to try and heal everybody up. Okay, it looks like somebody stunned this. Was good. We'll use our Ruby here. Oh boy. Alright, we'll keep pumping them with heals. We got our Cloudburst going. Ruby, Healing Tide. Now you see, right? In those other keys, when I was like, oh, you know, using my my cooldowns and it looked like it wasn't really necessary. Now you see what we were preparing for. We needed to slam everything back to back to back there to live. And we'll take a stop here to use this mage food to get some mana. Oh no, and now here's our first mini boss, the Incinerator. This guy has these swirl... So first of all, he pulses damage on... Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so we've pulled some mobs. And I don't have many cooldowns left. This might be the end. This might be our first deplete here. I'm going to try and do what we can. So first we need to remain calm and make sure we keep our maintenance spells up. Our Cloudburst, our Riptide, our Healing Rain. I'm going to try and hex this Fungi Storm. Luckily our tank stopped it. Just 2 seconds until our Fade Transfusion. We get it off. We'll try and get it into our Cloudburst there. Get our Healing Rain down. Our Astral Shift finally comes back up so we can use it. We can't... We're getting quaked, but we can press our Ascendance just for that initial burst heal. And now we got some juice going. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is terrifying. So here's our first Anima Power. So our choices are a Hasting... Oh no, we pulled more stuff. Alright, we're taking the Haste Power. We'll talk about these another time. We'll talk about these powers another time. We don't have time to talk right now. Oh boy. But we're making it. We're making it through. Our mana is basically 0 through that. That was terrifying. And we used almost everything that we had to live. But we made it through. Alright, now we'll take some time. Even though the tank is gathering, I'm not super worried. Still just gonna keep drinking on. The mobs are kind of all over the place. We're going to throw a Cap Totem down. We'll have our Fade Transfusion here to heal us in a second. Oh boy. Alright. Honestly, I think we've gotten through a lot of the hard parts of the dungeon. Now we're cleaning out the first boss room. Another option that I could have done that I decided not to do, I felt pretty confident, but I could have used Bloodlust as well. In a scary situation like that, if you feel like you're gonna die, I think it is worth it to use Bloodlust. Just to get through those moments. But you have to be careful because if you send Bloodlust and die, then not only did you full wipe, but you also used your Bloodlust. So it's it can be a pretty big gambit to use Bloodlust there. And I have faith that even if we wiped, maybe we could have had enough time in the timer to go back, so I decided not to do that. So now there's these two little, these Plague Belcher guys around the room that we have to clear before we fight the boss. We can use our Earthbind Totem there to slow these guys down. And so the strategy is just to kind of slow these guys down while the tank runs the guy away. You can see there I used my Earthbind and then my Cap Totem just to stun him a little bit longer. All right, we're making it through. Now you see this habit kicking in, right? Every time we end a pull, I drink. Okay, so we're actually going ahead. So this is a somewhat advanced strategy. I don't think we've done this before, but this is an advanced strategy that you'll see in higher key groups where we're going to go for a certain buff that will help us for the boss. Oh boy, we pulled the Plague Rock. So two really dangerous mobs are the Spine Breaker and this Plague Rock here. So in case things go wrong, I'm going to press my Fey Transfusion. Oh boy. Now we have our Fey Transfusion saved up if we needed to. Now the Plague Rock does a frontal here, so we got to be careful not to stand in front of him. I'm kind of watching the way the tank is moving a little erratically, but you know, it's just something that we'll have to get used to. He constantly watching the tank and making sure we're not in the line of fire. Now notice there I was thinking about using Spirit Link Totem. So if you're in an emergency with quaking and you don't have anything to heal because you can't cast a heal, throwing down a Spirit Link Totem is a good way to save somebody who's in danger. Now I don't have a disease dispel to remove these diseases from the bird, but our two paladins do. So hopefully one of our two paladins will be using a disease dispel. Alright, so the strategy we're going to use is we're going to take this red slime and we're going to bring it into the boss room. And when this red slime dies, it's going to leave this red puddle on the ground that's going to increase haste. And we're going to drag this guy all the way into this boss room and then use this puddle. I'm not sure if anyone is Necrolord. I don't think anyone is. Maybe one of them happens to be Necrolord, but if you have a Necrolord, you get an even bigger buff from this guy. Now, the one thing is this red puddle also does damage. So we have to be prepared for that this red puddle is going to do damage. So we're going to have to do some big heals here. We're going to constantly try and maintain Healing Rain, Riptide, Cloudburst. So we want to stand in the red puddle too to get this haste buff, but I'm going to use my soul shape there to get back in. I'm going to use Healing Wave here just because I'm a little worried about my mana. I'm probably going to be spam healing through most of this. So I want to make sure that my mana will stay alright through most of the fight. I pop my Ascendance just because we're starting to take some heavy damage. We don't quite have anything great that we can... Oh, we have Turn Evil. So paladins have an ability called Turn Evil that can actually fear the slime and make them run away. Starting to fall behind, so I'm going to use my Spirit Walker's Grace just to make sure I can cast while I'm running back in here. I'm going to use my Ruby too for a little bit extra juice. Just keeping my Cloudburst going. Press my defensive there because we were taking pretty heavy damage. Oh boy, this is getting hectic here. Our team is going to start to run out of juice, so while it looks like the boss is almost dead, it really is not. We're starting to run out of Cloudbursts. We have one charge left. I think we're going to have to kill this slime. Our tank is trying to run away with it, but I think we're going to have to kill it. Or it's going to go into the boss. So our other shaman has a chain harvest ability that can help group heal. Alright, so we're starting to recover a little bit. But here comes this next slime. Luckily, we were able to fear it. Oh, and we are completely out of mana. Okay. We're gonna pop a mana potion here. We're also gonna fade transfusion. Oh no, the boss ran out of it. This guy is running the boss over here, but our damage is so limited at this point. Oh no, this might be the end. I hope we're out of range. Okay, we are out of range. Oh no. Oh no! Dude, this is insane! No, the slime! I'm trying to slow it down! The boss ate it! We're still barely living! I'm gonna put down a spirit link. We're absolutely no mana. Our ascendance comes back in 7 seconds. Here comes another guy. A capacitor to try and stun it. Oh no, it's zooming in. This one's feared too. Oh my gosh, it has 100k more health. I'm just pumping damage at this point. Oh no, we might be dead. We cannot escape this. What in the world was that, dude? What was that? A 4-minute boss fight. How are we alive? How in the world are we alive? Alright, well, let's get some mana. Let's take a breather and get some mana real quick. Our mage says WTF. WTF indeed. Whoops. Anyway, we have to continue on. This is a timed run. Hopefully none of the other bosses will be this challenging, although I have a feeling the last boss might be pretty tough too. Alright, maybe it wasn't the most insightful commentary dealing with everything that was going on. These slime claws like to run away when they get low, so you can see I slowed one of them down with Frost Shock. Our tank used Hammer of Justice on the other. Looks like we're deciding on what we want to pull here. Oh, he's gathering all of this. Trying to get out of the way of my DPS players. And I see my mage just got a Rune of Power down, so I'm kind of trying to stand away. And drop a cap totem too there. Luckily we have only one melee DPS, and these pulls with these green slimes mostly only do damage to the melee DPS. You can see it puts that disease on him. He can actually remove that disease from himself, but doesn't seem to want to, or doesn't notice it or something. Oh, our mage polyed this. So sometimes people like to stop this patrol far away from this pack here, just so you don't risk pulling these mobs together, but I think that's a little dangerously close. We'll see what the mage's plan was. Use the Fate Transfusion just to help heal through this disease that our paladins don't want to remove. Oh, nice. Okay, so we were able to... Okay, so he knew. It was a little close for comfort, but was fine with me, I guess. Focusing down this purple one, because the purple one has the aura that reduces damage. I think we're still alright. As scary as that boss was, we haven't, you know, we've had a couple small deaths, but nothing major. You know, I'd maybe like to see our team's damage a little bit higher, but you know, I can't expect to find all-stars if I'm looking for suckers to come into my 11 keys. It looks like they're doing some damage now. All right. Like to see that. Yeah, so this disease stacks up and reduces stats. You can see all stats reduced by 45% on the tank. He's doing this pull with half stats, but I can't remove diseases. All right, so here's the next guy we got to deal with. Our tank decides to add a few other guys to the mix. Uh-oh. So this guy has a frontal beam you have to look out for. He also has a little cold circle that goes out. And then as well as these things. So it's a lot of dodging. But the whole time you're fighting this guy, you're slowed. I'll use a cap totem here down on these little tiny guys. It won't stun the mini boss, but it'll at least help keep some damage off the tank. He has 10 stacks. 10 stacks of this stat reduction thing. Thought for a second our shaman died there, but looks like he's okay. Can drop our healing tide. Probably should have done it a little bit earlier, but I was a little preoccupied watching the little guys run around. I was worried we were going to pull some stuff in. The one unfortunate problem of what happened here is we were fighting this guy. We activated these bombs, and we might not have any bombs to deal with this area, which will be fine. It's not really, you know, minor time loss at most. And so the power that I just took, I just realized I have another UI modification, a weak order that I left on accident that automatically takes the powers for you. And I don't necessarily want that for this series, so I'm gonna, hopefully if I remember, I can turn it off. But we're chugging along. We have lots of good count. The timer definitely doesn't look great. This plus 11 is a lot more challenging. And there's less room for error. Granted, a lot of it is because our gear is not great. Our team doesn't have the best gear. You know, we're all at like 220 item level. I'm at 210. But at the same time, I think it's still possible. We go through at a reasonable pace. I don't know. Either way, to be honest, even if we don't time the dungeon, just finishing it and getting an okay piece of loot, I'll be okay with. I would definitely like to time it. I would not like this to be our first deplete of the season, or of the series, if you will. Alright, let's see what we're doing here. So this is another strategy that's unique to these levels, is there's one mini boss that gives us a power up here, and we're going to run by everything and just kill him real quick, just so we can get the power for clearing this room. Oh boy, okay. So our tank is trying to go fast here. He's actually pulling this pack onto this guy. So this guy has a fear mechanic that you need to be paired with somebody. So I'm actually going to stand here with the mage, who's out here, but he doesn't, okay, he doesn't want to be on top of me. Fortunate. I'm gonna emergency spirit link here to save myself. We'll pop our ascendants here as well. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we have to watch out for this this big guy does a frontal that we have to watch out for. We don't have much left. We have our healing time. Okay. We have very few buttons that we can press here. We are spamming heals into our tank, desperately trying to survive. I think I played that one quite poorly, actually. I played that fight not the best I could. The very first fear that I got was a little bit disorienting. And I got set far behind. So a cool power that this guy gives is he's going to now drop mana orbs. He's going to drop mana orbs, so we don't need to worry too much about mana now. We can just sort of go about our day. He also has some other powers that are somewhat useful, but I like taking the mana orbs just so I don't have to worry about my mana really for the rest of the dungeon. I'm starting to be worried about the timer here. We have only 15 minutes left and we still have 3 bosses to take care of. But we've taken out a lot of trash at the beginning of the dungeon, so it feels like we shouldn't need to fight too much more after this. But there's still a lot more to go, so maybe our tank has a way that he wants to skip some of this. I'm not too sure. But either way, we'll just do the best we can, try and blast DPS. This can be a tough pack with its inspiring because we can't actually stop this red slime guy. He's just going to keep free casting into our poor team. You can see I'm constantly grabbing these little orbs. Each one gives me, I think, like 5% mana. Alright. Now here's this red puddle again. I don't know if we'll make good use out of it, but our tank might pull it back here. Okay, so our tank is going to try and pull it back into this red puddle. Our tank is doing a good job, except for this. I'm going to kick this boss to try and drag it in here. I'm going to stand in the red puddle for a little bit more damage. I have to be careful about the quaking, but and we have to worry about mana less because we have these mana orbs, but at the same time we'll switch over to Healing Wave. There's not a super good reason for us not to be using Healing Wave when we're sitting in that puddle with so much haste. So here's where things might get a little bit spicy. So we have to kill this Plague Bomb. We also have to deal with this purple slime. Looks like our tank is just dragging it out, which is fine. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh no. Okay, good. This boss has a cast that he does called Burning Strain that puts out a disease on random people, and it'll just keep going off if the tank isn't in range. And the tank was not in range and wasn't kicking it, but we managed to live. I'm very glad that we bought those health potions earlier, because they're coming in big for us right now. Trying to dispel when we can. Dodging these. Alright, this boss... Uh-oh. So this slime is over here. I think our tank can fear this. I think that's what he wants to do. So I'm just gonna stun him. Okay, it looks like our team wants to DPS the bomb. Since time is so tight here... Oh no, team doesn't... tank isn't taking the boss again. Since time is tight here, I think it would be a pretty good play to try and just focus down the boss and not worry about the bomb, but... Uh-oh. This is not good for me. So the tank was tanking the congealed slime on top of the bomb, which I'm not sure why. Okay, the tank has just died. I think this might be the end of the road for our run. Our mage is also disconnected. I think we've just witnessed the first deplete of the series. Our tank had some good ideas. I appreciated what he was trying to do, but he also was missing out on some key things. All right, maybe we weren't quite ready for a plus 11. Maybe this is where it starts to get hard. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'll be releasing regular episodes, so make sure you subscribe to my channel if you aren't already, and click the bell to get notified when the next episode is out. I also come out with regular guides for healers in World of Warcraft, as well as videos explaining UI and all other sorts of things. If you enjoy content like this, I'd also highly recommend coming to check out my stream at twitch.tv/yumytv, where we're always gaming there. The link is in the description, and happy keying.